In the words of the visionary band Blue Oyster Cult, history shows again and again how nature points out the folly of man, Godzilla. With Godzilla King of Monsters premiering on May 31st, it's also clear that the iconic kaiju is still a major player in the modern media landscape. That's why this video is going to cover the terrific history of the monster. From his initial appearance to his many unusual appearances in Western nations, this video will cover how Godzilla became everyone's favorite giant movie monster. Godzilla made his first debut in a 1954 film, Godzilla. That title might be pretty direct, but there's actually quite a bit to it. Godzilla is actually a translation of the monster's original Japanese name, Gojira, which was the title of the original film in Japan. Gojira is a combination of two Japanese words, gorira meaning gorilla and kujira meaning whale. The monster's name is derived from these two words to convey his incredible power and the fact that he comes from the ocean. When this movie and the giant monster came to the West, translators went to Godzilla to further convey the size and power of the giant monster. In this initial movie, Godzilla is an overt metaphor for the dangers of nuclear weaponry. The monster is born from underwater hydrogen bomb testing and decimates local ecosystems and fish populations. Then Godzilla begins directly attacking villages before running amok in Tokyo. Conventional weapons have no effect on the giant monster, and he destroys the city, fatally harming millions in the process. A scientist, Daisuke Serizawa, has an invention that destroys oxygen cells in living creatures and decides to use it on Godzilla after seeing the damage the monster did to the city and people of Japan. The oxygen destroyer proves effective on Godzilla, but Serizawa takes his own life to stop the spread of an even more dangerous weapon. The film ends on a somber note with the warning that if nuclear weapons testing continues, a new Godzilla will rise up. It's interesting to note that in this film, Godzilla is described as being 50 meters or 164 feet tall. This would make him much taller than every building in Tokyo's skyline in 1954, but Godzilla would be much bigger in later appearances. Many also point to this film as the first giant monster movie, although that title technically goes to 1933's King Kong film. A heavily edited version of 1954's Godzilla would air in America 2 years later. This film, known as Godzilla King of Monsters, makes the first appearance of Godzilla's iconic title and is quite a bit lighter in tone. 16 minutes of the original movie were cut and replaced for the America release, with this version of the film focusing on American reporter Steve Martin, who finds himself caught in Godzilla's rampage. Godzilla King of Monsters also weakens the nuclear arms symbolism and removes the warning about the danger of them from the end of the movie. The localization is such a departure from the original film that it almost makes the 90s anime localizations look mild by comparison. Even if worldwide audiences essentially saw a different film than the one that aired in Japan, Godzilla quickly became a global phenomenon. TOHO, the company of the franchise, was eager to cash in on the success of the monster, even if it meant further distancing Godzilla from the dangers of nuclear weapons. While this led to several immediate sequels, one of the most notable is the 1962 movie King Kong vs. Godzilla. Here, Godzilla and King Kong battle it out due to the scheming of a television network who wants to broadcast the fight to boost the ratings, which is pretty meta for a movie from the 1960s. In the end, Kong emerges victorious, but it's also clear that Godzilla isn't gone for good. This movie is a lot wackier than either the original Godzilla or King Kong film. The movie essentially consists of two people in monster costumes throwing each other around and stomping around a set meant to look like the Japanese countryside. It's not supposed to be a serious film, though. The enjoyment viewers get from it comes from the spectacle of watching these larger-than-life characters duke it out. This movie is just pure fun and would heavily influence monster movies for the next several decades. The next few Godzilla films would essentially be a series of crossover films that saw Godzilla battling other giant monsters that premiered in their own films beforehand. 1964's Mothra vs. Godzilla saw the two monsters battling against one another for the first time. Godzilla would emerge victorious, but Mothra's children would avenge their fallen mother and force Godzilla back into the sea. That same year, Godzilla would face off against King Ghidorah in Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. Here, Ghidorah starts destroying cities after crashing into Earth while inside of a meteorite. Mothra, who is a friend to mankind, is asked to enlist the help of Godzilla and the fiery pterodactyl Rodon to battle the alien threat. However, they're too busy fighting each other to help Mothra and don't really care about the fate of humanity. In the end, they aid Mothra in the battle against Ghidorah, and they're impressed with her taking on the space dragon by herself. Together, they defeat King Ghidorah and they go their separate ways as allies. If it wasn't clear already, the Godzilla franchise is well into the delightfully bizarre at this point. Mothra can communicate with chosen humans via telepathy, aliens are apparently real, and these giant monsters actually have a pretty developed sense of morality and companionship. Sure, it's weird and requires a massive suspension of disbelief, but giant monster movies are inherently ridiculous, so they might as well ham it up and lean into it. 1967 would see Godzilla adopting a son named Manila and battling a giant spider in the movie Son of Godzilla. In 1974, he would battle a robot version of himself built specifically to destroy him in Godzilla vs. MECHA. Then he'd fight a cybernetically enhanced version of King Ghidorah in the 1991 film Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. With such enduring success in Japan and worldwide name recognition, it was only a matter of time before Hollywood made their own original Godzilla film. The 1998 Godzilla movie was highly anticipated by both monster movie fans and general audiences alike. Centropolis Entertainment was the production company behind the project, and they were coming hot off the trails of 1996's widely successful Independence Day. It seemed like a dream come true. Then, it turned out to be a nightmare. The movie seemed to be a fundamental misunderstanding of who Godzilla was as a character and what made the franchise so successful. Audiences criticized this version of the monster for looking like a giant T-Rex and behaving so animalistically. Most also didn't care for the movie's bizarre logic, such as a scene where the main characters use a pregnancy test meant for humans to determine that Godzilla is pregnant and likely looking for a place to lay eggs. The film's ending also rubbed fans the wrong way. Here, conventional weapons and missiles are able to bring Godzilla down and put an end to his rampage. If Godzilla can fall to a military, then he isn't larger than life, and that's what makes the character so cool. This film's more grounded version of Godzilla just isn't true to the character. Although the 1998 Godzilla was supposed to be the first of a 3-film series, its poor reception put a halt to those plans rather quickly. Its tie-in animated series titled Godzilla the Series did air on Fox Kids between 1998 and 2000. Of course, TOHO continued to make a number of Godzilla films in Japan following the turn of the millennium. However, the long-running franchise would take a bit of a break during the 2004 release of Godzilla Final Wars. Hollywood would have another chance to make a Godzilla movie in 2014 though. This film, once again just called Godzilla, would prove a bit odd and polarizing. Advertising of the film centered heavily on actor Bryan Cranston of Malcolm in the Middle and Breaking Bad fame, but his character passes away in the first third of the movie. The new monsters in this movie, the male and female Muto, are also pretty bland considering the franchise's long history of creative creature designs. That being said, the final fight in the movie more than makes up for its shortcomings. For the first time ever, a classic kaiju fight was brought to life with the level of scope only found in big-budget Hollywood films. It was awesome in the most literal sense of the word. Following the success of the movie, Warner Bros. And Legendary Entertainment, the media companies behind the project, decided to use it as a starting point for their own cinematic universe. Known as the Monsterverse, the franchise would focus primarily on giant monster movies. 2017's Kong Skull Island was a part of the universe, as are upcoming films Godzilla King of Monsters and 2020's Godzilla vs. Kong. Of course, a number of Japanese-produced Godzilla films premiered after the release of the 2014 movie. One of the most notable in that set of films is 2017's Godzilla Planet of the Monsters, or Monster Planet for short. This movie would be the first animated film in the franchise's long history and launch a trilogy of animated Godzilla films. That's more or less the history of one of the biggest and most popular monsters in cinema. It's pretty bizarre looking back on how Godzilla made the jump from a metaphor about the dangers of nuclear arms to a cultural icon in Japan. Even if the franchise does have some lengthier gaps, it's still the longest-running movie series in cinema. The future also looks pretty great for the legendary monster. The upcoming Godzilla King of Monsters is one of the most anticipated movies of the year and is coming off the heels of the resoundingly successful Kong Skull Island. If the trailers are more in line with the finished project this time around, the hype is very well earned. Godzilla is set to battle 3 of the biggest names in kaiju movies with this upcoming film, that being Rodan, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. He may even face off against some never-before-seen foes or less well-known monsters from the long-standing Godzilla lore. In fact, if this movie is a hit, it might begin a return to form for giant monster movies, and they could once more dominate the cinema landscape. The superhero genre might be on top right now, but if any character or franchise could topple that, it's Godzilla. The monster is by far one of the most recognizable fictional characters around today, following decades of headlining charming, if low-budget, films. Godzilla kind of deserves to be on top after decades of building up recognition in niche circles. Even if it doesn't revolutionize the modern film landscape, Godzilla King of Monsters is sure to be a terrific event, and we'll see exactly how big an event it is on May 31st. What do you think of the long and strange history of the Godzilla franchise? Are there any major movies we missed or any other fun bits of trivia? Please let us know in the comments section down below. While you're there, please be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Behind the Screen. A sub really helps the channel, and you get plenty out of it. We have a huge back catalog of videos about the coolest and weirdest properties in cinema for you to check out. We also have tons of upcoming videos about the strange world of show business. To keep up with everything, be sure to click the bell icon. That way you'll get a notification as soon as we upload a new video. We try to publish a new video twice a day, so keep an eye out for more great videos from us coming soon.